Hi, and welcome to this live reading from Mr. Wimp, The Human Mating Sites #1 by B.L. Wilde, and this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. I'd never experienced heartbreak before. I'd coasted for so long, content with what I had been given, that this all seemed like a strange dream. This wasn't happening. Things like this didn't happen to me. Joel was meant to be safe. It was one of the reasons I had married him. Why was he doing this to me? I can't do this anymore. I'm leaving you. My eyes were wide, gazing at my husband. Did I hear him right? After 12 years together, he wanted to end it? With no explanation as to why? We hadn't had the best marriage these last few years, but to throw it all away? It made no sense. Bella, did you hear what I said? Joel's tone was annoyed. I knew you'd do this. You honestly can't think this relationship is good for either of us. We're not happy. We can't carry on like this. Don't you love me anymore? The words fell out of my mouth without any conscious thought. In truth, I was unsure if I even wanted to hear the answer. Of course I love you, but the spark is gone. I can't live this lie anymore. It's been eating away at me for months. One of us had to make this decision, and we both know you never would have. We've been drifting for so long, Bella. Our relationship has become a habit, monotonous. Was that pity in his eyes? Or something else? Listen, I'm going to stay at James's for a few days. We both need time to get our heads around everything. It was all happening so fast. Why did I need time? I wasn't the one walking out on our marriage. Do what you need to do, Joel. You're the one making this decision, like you said. I don't have a say in any of it. If time apart is what you think you need, just go. I backed away into the kitchen, hoping he'd follow. As I heard the front door slam, reality hit me. Was I going to become a spinster in my 30s? What had I even done to deserve this? Joel and I got together at the youthful age of 20. It had been a whirlwind romance that ended up with him proposing only a year after we'd started dating. We saved for a few years before getting married, which meant we bought a house and married in the same year. He had always been someone I could depend on. Until today. Okay, so he wasn't the manliest bloke around. To be honest, when my friends first met him, they all thought he was gay. His heart was in the right place, though. The truth is, he had the body of a 12-year-old boy in the early stages of our relationship. Looks had never interested me that much, so it really didn't matter. He wasn't a bad-looking guy, don't get me wrong, but we often joked about his ears having their own radar system. He had talked about getting them pinned for the last 5 years, but in usual Joel style, had never followed through. It was hard to get my head around the fact that 7 years of marriage had just ended with him walking out on me. I was no supermodel myself, but I was happy in my own skin. Like anyone, I'd put a bit of weight on, being in a content relationship for so long. My cleavage was probably the best thing I had going for me. I was curvy in all the right places and had quite long legs that I could never find trousers long enough for. My hair was normally mid-length unless I couldn't be bothered to get it cut. I was a brunette, and in the sun it had this lovely shimmer of red that I'd inherited from my mom. I wasn't an overly confident person, but I liked who I was. That was all that mattered. Standing in the kitchen, I walked towards the fridge. Wine was always a good way to calm me. After pouring myself a large glass of red, I sat down in the lounge and tried to decide which friend to call. If I didn't get someone to come over, I would break down. My life was spiraling out of control. Being alone wasn't something I could even think about right now. I'd been with Joel for too long. It was all I knew. Luna was my sensible friend, but her husband was best friends with Joel. No, I couldn't message her. Ava would be out trying to get laid. She was my spinster friend who was never going to settle down. Hazel or Zoe, my friends from work, were probably my safest bet. Zoe had a boyfriend and was a little younger than me. Hazel was the oldest of my friends and a total wildcat. Texting Zoe seemed like the best idea. She was the one more likely to reply. I was an office manager in a small cleaning supplies company called Fine Clean. I'd been working there for over 6 years. Zoe was one of my sales assistants. Hazel was the crazy sales ledger clerk. As expected, Zoe replied instantly, saying she was on her way. By the time I'd grabbed another glass and put some scented candles on, she was at my door. Are you okay? Zoe pulled me into a tight hug. What did he say? Is there someone else? I hadn't even thought about that. Was there someone else? He didn't say much, just that the spark was gone. She followed me into the kitchen and I handed her a glass of wine. Did you really have no idea that things were this bad? We've been drifting for years. I thought that was normal, though. Having been together for 12 years, things were bound to feel a little stale, right? Perhaps I had neglected him this shit last year. Work had been ridiculously busy with the launch of the new cleaning catalog. My boss, Mr. Daniels, had put a lot of pressure on me since my pay raise. I had to prove myself, though. It was a considerable rise. Joel worked in an independent bakery. His early morning shifts had always meant we didn't see a lot of each other. When we did have days off together, he was usually too tired to do anything strenuous. It had always been part of our daily grind, and I thought that was what made our relationship work. Clearly, I had been wrong. Couples grow apart, Bella. It's nothing anyone has done. People change and want different things. Maybe a few days with his mates will help him clear his head. Is he staying at Luna's? No, James. The single friend that Ava fucked? There weren't many men Ava hadn't fucked. Yeah, that, James. He's been hanging with him a lot at the gym. It's his new hobby. Zoe gave me a guarded look. What? You've been out of the game too long. If a guy is suddenly taking an interest in his appearance, it usually means only one thing. What thing? I was completely clueless. Someone else might have caught his eye. You think he's having an affair? Joel wouldn't have the guts to have an affair. He didn't have the confidence for that. Are you sure he's definitely been going to the gym? Can you even prove he's gone to stay at James's right now? Thinking about it, Joel's body still had no definition. His scrawny chicken legs surely should have bulked out a little after 3 months of gym work. I knew his arms and chest would take longer. It wasn't like he had much muscle there in the first place. I have no idea. I don't have a tracker on him. Has he kept his phone upside down or hidden from you? It was true. Joel had been a little secretive with his phone lately. He has been a little weird with his phone. What about work shifts? Has he picked up any extra? Worked later than usual? What are you, some cheating detective? I snorted, filling our wine glasses up. I've been cheated on a few times. I know what to look for. How could anyone cheat on Zoe? She was such a sweetheart. I can't say that I've noticed his work routine change, but I'm usually at work when he gets back. He has taken on some extra shifts, though. So he has time to cheat if you're at work when he gets home. She was thoughtful for a moment. Bella, we need to stake him out somehow. Follow him or something. Hazel and Ava will be down for it, I'm sure. Now I was regretting introducing all of my friends to each other last year. They all got along too well these days. Zoe left once we'd finished the bottle of wine. I sat with my cat Daisy on my lap. There was something about petting an animal that always calmed me. Joel had gotten Daisy as a wedding gift. She was the cutest little long-haired tabby cat I had ever seen. I'd always been a cat person. When I was younger, I would always be at my grandparents' house, and they had 4 cats. Daisy's soft purrs lulled me into a content daze. At least she still loved me and always would. She'd been more of a bed buddy than Joel had been the last 7 years. Said a lot that a pussy had been more company than a dick. The sound of my phone woke me up from my nap on the sofa. It was Zoe letting me know that Hazel and Ava were up for stalking Joel. This was going to be a nightmare. I had no idea what they were planning, but it did make me wonder what we would find. Before today, it would have seemed impossible that Joel would cheat. There had to be a reason he'd given up on me, though. It was the weekend. I was sat in my garden getting some fresh air, wondering what the fuck had happened to my life. Apparently, I'd been living a lie for quite some time. Zoe, Ava, and Hazel had played detectives really well. They had managed to log on to Joel's Facebook account with my help. There was a woman involved, although we couldn't tell if he'd done anything with her yet. The craziest thing was that this new woman was called Bella, too. This asshole couldn't even find someone with a different name than me. Staring at the messages to this new Bella on Joel's Facebook broke my heart in two. He was in love with her, and it appeared she felt the same way. Fuck, the betrayal burned deep through my veins. Why did he have to do this to me? It was the one thing I had always been so sure of, that I'd be safe with him. He was never meant to hurt me. Joel was meant to be a good guy. What had happened to him? What had I done to deserve this? Are you angry that we found something? Ava asked, tossing her long red hair behind her shoulders. You need to confront him, Bells. He can't get away with this. I'm processing it, Ava. Give me a minute. Wasn't expecting you to be able to hack his laptop. This is all happening so fast. My chest began to tighten uncomfortably. I took as deep a breath as I could, but it didn't help. Oh, fuck. Why did this hurt so much? Joel had given up on me. He didn't need time. He'd already replaced me. You're much prettier than the skank he's fucking. She looks older than you, too. Who the fuck does that? Find someone older than his wife? Hazel wasn't really helping, but I knew she meant well. She was right, though. The new Bella did look older. Was she hotter than me? Scrutinizing the picture, I wasn't sure. No, I wasn't doing that to myself. Comparing myself to this woman wasn't going to help my heartbreak. I had to accept that my marriage was really over. I couldn't take Joel back after this, not when he had betrayed me in the worst possible way. Sadly, that brought up a long list of questions, but no answers. What did we do with the house? Would we sell it? I wasn't sure if I'd be able to buy him out. My parents might have been able to help me out with a loan, but what if they couldn't? What about Daisy? No, fuck that. She was my cat. Anger began to soar through my body. The fucking bastard had cheated. How dare he do this to me? Sure, we might have been having issues, but it's not like our sex life had ever been explosive. But that gave him no right to start a relationship with another woman. Truthfully, I'd always preferred to sit and watch a movie or TV series than have sex with him. Joel had never really been that good in the sack. It had only ever lasted a few minutes, and all the while I'd be staring up at the ceiling wondering if he'd almost finished. I'd faked every single orgasm in the 12 years we'd been together, too. He had to think he was doing something right, otherwise we would never have had sex. On a scale of 1 to 10 in bed, Joel was a 4 at best. My sex drive had always been pretty high until him. In fact, I spent a lot of the day thinking about sex. It was just never with Joel. What the fuck was I really losing here? My highest score had only been a 6, though. Maybe that's why I was okay with mediocre sex. Tom, my high school boyfriend, had been the best sexual partner so far. What that boy used to do with his fingers, My clit learned very quickly what an orgasm was at the very young age of 16. That was the extent of my sex life. 2 partners. I wasn't as experienced as I wanted to be at my age. Spending a lot of evenings reading steamy books because Joel was in bed early had made me realize how deprived I was sexually. Made me wonder if sex really could be like that, hot and hard. I wanted to be fucked the way a book boyfriend fucked, fast and all-consuming. Damn, I'd even try being choked if the guy was hot enough. Are you going to confront him? Zoe asked, snapping me away from my thoughts. I can stay at yours if you need support. Thanks, I'll be okay. I need to deal with this alone. I want him to admit it to my face. It's going to make the cheating bastard squirm. Anger was overtaking the heartbreak at the moment, and I needed it to stay that way for a while. I think I need to be on my own, guys. I need to process everything and call my folks. That was going to be a difficult conversation, and I wasn't looking forward to it. Call if you need us, okay? Hazel touched my hand. Ava, Zoe, do you fancy the pub? When did Ava and Zoe not fancy the pub? Yeah, sounds good to me. Let's try Keystones down by the river. We were lucky to live in the city of Worcester in England. We had a bustling nightlife in an area of outstanding natural beauty with the Malvern Hills a short drive away. I lived in Worcester my entire life. Are you sure you don't want to come for one drink? No, I'll be okay. Stop worrying, all of you. With a quick hug from each of them, I waved them off from my front door. Joel texted to say he was popping over later to grab some of his things. I wasn't sure if I was in a confrontational mood, but I'd try and get some information out of him, if I could.